Hi.
We're finally live for the first time in 3 weeks.
Well, I'm glad that out of anyone you could have had, you had me.
I mean, you weren't my first, second, or third choice. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, well, fuck you. Then I'm going to leave. Bye.
No, you were literally... Oh, no!
I totally forgot this is my picture.
Oh, God, the chaos. The chaos has started. The chaos has started. Anyway... Welcome to The Cup, the Currently Unnamed Podcast, where the tea is piping hot and we're always ready to spill and be a little chaotic tonight. That's just how it's going to be. I'm Logan Murphy, just a gay, here with Miss Pitcha Patis. Yes, that is what we've called her. Today, we're drinking G Fuel as always, and it's like this floral peach flavor. It's really good. I love it.
Nice.
And who are you?
I'm Esmeralda Blackheart, here with my special guest, Rachel Maddow in cup form. I am currently drinking air because I forgot to grab a cup before. So just airtarian.
Very, very that. Yes. Let's just address the situation.
I mean, it felt apt.
It felt very fitting given one of the wildest weeks of Big Brother Canada that we've seen in a long time.
One of the most interesting game choices that we've seen from a person. In
a couple game choices were interesting on this evening.
Yes.
And we're gonna talk all about it. So yeah, like I said at the top, we haven't been live talking about BB Can for 3 weeks. Sorry, life happens, and if I'm being truthfully honest, it wasn't all that interesting.
I feel like we finally got some interesting, like the pendulum kind of swing back. We got some.
It was wild, insane, wild. After tonight, like that's kind of where we're at now. I'm going to do a quick recap of the last 2 weeks because we didn't talk about it. So in week 6, following that was the, what's it called? The chain of safety.
Which saw
definitely chain of safety and not safety chain. Definitely chain of safety.
It was so unique, so original. So beautiful.
Completely original. Never been done before.
Put in a blender.
I will say though, I'm happy that Arissa took something from us.
Yeah,
like
I think it was fun to see, and I think it was fun to see like actual kind of full-fledged out show of what can happen, because it also in that sense kind of, I mean, the lines were already so drawn. I feel like I wish it could have happened a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Because then I think it could have revealed things more. Because I think that's always a great way to expose like who's working with who.
Imagine it right after, or right before, or right after Kyle's eviction.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was right after Kyle's eviction, but like, imagine if it was week 4, Kyle gets evicted, and then immediately you go into this chain of safety. Like, I feel like that would have been kind of wild, kind of spooky, but we come out of the chain of safety, and the old man won HOH again, whatever. Betty and Josh were nominated. Shocker. Kevin wins.
Betty got nominated? Oh, he's never done that before.
It's not like the old man has ever targeted a black person or a queer person before.
He only targets other white men. He's an ally.
I hate you. I hate you so much. Anyway, Kevin won the veto, took Josh off the block because Kevin, Josh, and Helena have this cute little alliance, the Crash Test Dummies, or as we affectionately call them on Twitter, the Rat Pack. Herman was then put up in his place, and I have the banner, was then subsequently evicted unanimously out of that week, becoming the first juror. In a jury of 8, I would like to also talk about.
Which will be interesting to see what happens, because I feel like, because I think we all thought Gus was going to be the first juror, and then we were like, oh, no.
100% was like, so oh good, they made jury. No. Yeah.
So my question is, is there going to be something at the end where like maybe one of the final 3 get to eliminate one of the jury members, or Doug can't get a vote?
I think it's going to be the
It's gonna be one of
latter.
the two.
I think it's going to be the latter, honestly. But yeah, so Herman
I mean, it would
was
fucking
then...
suck if you like a jury. I always hate that twist of like remove someone from the jury, because it's like you fought all this way, and now like yeah, like at least if you're eliminated early, you can go home. Like you can go home, but like
That
to get
part.
eliminated in jury and then not be able to go home and still not real, and then kind of just be kind of fully evicted, like the first 6 people, would suck.
Yeah, I agree completely. We follow up that week with another white man winning. Gino wins HOH.
Which we were hoping was going to be better than it was.
We were hoping and praying, because his original plan was to backdoor the old man. And I would have been so happy about that. So he puts up Summer and Moose. And then Helena, of all people, wins the veto.
Discards. And JC Lynn wins the secret veto and also discards. So it leaves the his 2 pawns on the block, which really just kind of he fucking had a terrible HOH, which was interesting. Well, I'll talk about that later when Marty, something that Marty said later. But it was not a great HOH, and it ended up causing Moose to go out, which sucked.
Yeah, I ended up liking Moose by the end. He was doing a lot for me at the very, very beginning of the game when there were a lot of people. And by the end of his stay in the house, like I was like, oh, I like you a lot. Like, this is upsetting.
Yeah.
But it happens. It truly just flames on the side of my face. We both went for 2 different references, and I love it. So, so we're here, week 8. Let's talk about.
Do we have to?
Yes, because gummy bears. I almost DoorDashed some gummy bears for this occasion, and I was going to eat them during the podcast. I decided not to, but I almost did.
I can't DoorDash anything because I live in the middle of nowhere on a mountain.
I'm so sorry.
Did I tell you that? Tangent. Did I tell you that one about like someone down the street from me has the "Let's Go Brandon" sign?
A work.
Mm-hmm. They replaced it. It replaced their Trump 2024 sign.
Good.
Love it here.
Good. We love it here. So they do the endurance HOH. I forget what it was called, but yeah, hang on to the thing.
They were like on a kind of like tilt slanted thing and had
wall comp.
It was like a wall comp meets like a slope. I would call it more of like a slope comp, because it was like they had to hold themselves up, basically kind of perpetually doing like a pull up, or you know how like when you're young you like hold yourself in your doorway. It was just that as a comp, and somehow Marty fucking wins it.
Well, so not without a big fight from Summer and from Betty, and JC Lynn was also in the mix as well. They got to the point where they were like, okay, now you can't use your legs and it's pure arm strength. And I'm like, well, that's unfair.
Yeah.
But sure.
It was also just like, why switch it up in the middle of the comp? Like,
well, it's because they didn't want to pay the production overtime. They're like, we need to get out of here. We had to pay them overtime last week when Buzzkill didn't end up working, so we can't pay them overtime this week.
Buzzkill.
Imagine what would have happened had Buzzkill actually happened.
I think that comp is dead in the water now, because it like
I think it is, yeah. And it was one of my favorites too. I was so excited about it. I was watching it live too.
It was the first time I was going to get to see it live, like, and it wasn't great.
I saw it. I think they did it on 6. I saw it on 6 live, because that was the second season I was watching live feeds for BB Cam. So
this is
the
watching live feeds for the first season. The first season I like caught live was last season.
Work. A great season to start with, in all honesty. Like, fabulous start.
I'm much more of a fan of BB Cam than BBUS. The first season I started in BBUS was the season Nicole won.
Have I told you the season I started?
No.
I started Big Brother on season 15.
So great
Somehow
season.
I'm still here. Somehow I'm still here.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Who
Yeah,
was it? I think it was Helena was first down, I think. And I was like, yeah, I wouldn't have made it. That's not my comp though. Like anything requiring any other kind of strength, that's my comp. But like this was not my comp.
No, it wouldn't have been mine either.
So,
I
well,
think it could have been fine until they needed to just be doing pull-ups pretty much. Like,
yeah.
and then it would have gone down. Or I would have been like, can I hook my feet around it? Like,
right. Well, yeah. So the old man wins HOH. To nobody's surprise, for like the 4,000th time this season. Guess who the nominees are, Esme?
I'm gonna guess that it was Kevin and Gino.
No, it was black people again. It was black people again.
Well,
Is this the third time? Who did
Let me
Marty
check.
nominate? No, this is the third time that Marty has nominated Betty.
every time he's won HOH, Betty has been on the block.
Yeah. The first time it was with Jay, and the second two times it was with the second two times it was with Josh. So,
but we forgot to mention who the only really good part about this week was that because Marty had already won the fucking safety, his little fan club couldn't push it. So
I completely forgot.
So we ended up getting a really good moment with Summer winning. Otherwise, it probably would have been Summer and Betty on the block together.
No. So Marty actually told Summer directly. So yeah, so Summer wins the Bel Air insurance direct whatever bullshit. Thank God, because so Marty had told Summer prior to that she would have been the replacement nominee. I don't think it was shown on the show, but we saw it on feeds. Marty just like straight up told Summer like, yeah, you're the replacement if one of them comes
which
off.
makes sense with how he's working in this game. It would, instead of it
target the black people. Woo.
It would have been Summer instead of Gino, and it would have been Summer and Josh on the block as final nominee. I'm really glad didn't happen.
Thank you, Canada. I made sure to vote. I voted like 50 times for Summer. Like I was like, I'm making sure I threw a few in for Betty and a few for Josh. Yeah. But yes, so we go to the veto. I forget who else played in this veto. I'm gonna be real honest with you.
I know.
Oh wait, I can tell you.
I know JC Lynn didn't because she was hosting it.
Yeah.
Kevin did.
Kevin played. I think Helena played.
Was it Summer that sat out?
No, Summer was in the comp because Summer did the worst.
Which is
it was Summer, Kevin, Betty, Josh, and I believe Helena.
Okay.
No, it was Gino. Helena and Marty sat out. JL was hosting. That's what it was. So it was one of my other favorite comps. They are really pulling all of my favorite comps from prior seasons because we get 100 more minutes from hell, which I loved. I loved the first iteration. I loved when they did the Heaven version on BB Can 6, I believe it was, because they did it originally on BB Can 5. They're really doing a lot of things that they did on 5 and 6 this season.
Yeah, I think
they had Buzzkilled, 100 Minutes of Hell, the triple eviction. Like,
I think these comps this season have been really fun to watch, even if like they're not like the desired winner.
Well, this one certainly was.
This one was
because so it was Summer that rang in first. Not even close. She was at like 55 minutes or something. Kevin rang in last.
Closest to 100 minutes, right?
Yes, yeah. And you can go over, which I thought was something interesting because I believe in past iterations of this challenge on both BB Can and BBUS, I believe they weren't allowed to go over, so it was Price's Right rules.
Right.
I may be wrong, but I think at least one iteration they couldn't go over. But it ended up being Summer first, Kevin last. Betty was right in the middle, and guess what? Betty supremacy! And Betty wins her first competition of the season. Praise the Lord above. I was so happy. I screamed, I cried, I ran around for a while. So, because Betty has the veto, Josh is on the block.
I looked it up. It's without going over in the US version. So in the US version, we had Keisha Smith win in 10 and Brittany Haynes win.
Icon Keisha. Icon Legend and Star Keisha.
Mm. So it doesn't say anything about it going over 100 minutes in in Canada.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for the fact checking, my dear. I love you. But yeah, so Betty has a veto. Josh is on the block. Summer is safe. The old man now has to nominate one of his alliance members, and
shit goes down because someone makes a weird.
Well, so originally it was either going to be JCPenney or Helena was the original idea. The old man got too caught up in the probability of a flip happening.
So he wanted to also add Kevin as a possibility to nominate.
So then it flipped directly to Kevin. And I'll get into the Marsha the Moose task because thank the Lord above, Marsha the Moose is alive and breathing and well. And I'm so happy to hear it.
I wish that we could have. I wish that Moose stuck around and we could have gotten a Marsha the Moose task for Moose.
That's what I wanted. They missed out on that. Like they should have just done it like week 4. Like there have been seasons where they've done 2 Marsha tasks, and I honestly think it's because people were complaining too much about Marsha. But we'll talk about Marsha in a second. So, so Kevin was then the choice. But then Kevin does his little manipulating,
which
and it's
he's
like,
really good at. I will give him that. Like
I have to respect the hell out of Kevin and Helena. I don't particularly love them necessarily as people in this house. I don't hate them by any means of the imagination. I don't dislike.
Based on what we saw with this task, Kevin is in a really good spot too.
We'll talk about where everybody lies. Well, that final 5 is
this final 5 is really interesting. Wise. Yeah. It's like there's so many like different little factions. It's not like all of them are working together for this whole game.
It's not like last season where it was everyone versus Tara. It's kind of what it was like at the end. But so Kevin does his little manipulating and all that stuff. So Marty decides on the morning of the veto meeting that he's going to do a gummy bear draw to decide which one of his alliance members, literally. And he's like, I don't want to put Gino in, or I'm sorry, let me do it. I don't want to put Gino in because I have fucked over Gino.
I've backstabbed him 2 times already.
And I cannot do this again. And then and then he turns to Gino, and this moment is like, Gino, would you like to put your gummy bear in? I will not.
Basically, I'm not going to put you in unless you want to.
And that dumbass decides I'm going to be a team player and put my gummy bear in.
Why would you ever do something like that? Because it's completely up to fate. You have a 25% chance of going up on the block with this decision, or you have a 0% chance of going up on the block and staying in the house for what you would assume to be another week because you don't know that there's a triple happening.
I mean, they were pretty certain. Everyone had their triple eviction, ideas on lock from the moment this week started because there's only 2 weeks left and there's 8 of them, or there was 8 of them. But yes, of course, Gino decides he's going to put his gummy bear in, and guess what? He gets drawn. And honestly, the thing too is, him putting his gummy bear in increased the chances that him or JC Lynn would have been the nominee, because then you go from a 33% chance with just JC Lynn to a 50% chance if you put yours in.
that
So
one
it's like,
that you or your showman is going in. And at that point, it makes sense to fucking get rid of the showmans. Like,
oh, absolutely. Yeah, so at this point, JC Lynn's face. I have to say, again, don't love JC Lynn either, necessarily.
she's
I
giving
think
us some great faces. Like,
well, I have it. Don't worry. I have it. I have both of them. Don't worry. I will say I am very impressed with the way that she's playing this game.
mm-hmm. She's doing more than I thought she would do.
All five of the people left we'll talk about have
mm-hmm.
a genuine shot at winning the game at this point.
Yes.
One of them a little bit less so now than the other four. We'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
So Betty obviously uses the veto. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yes, whoop, whoop, God.
And apparently Betty in the veto ceremony, not ceremony, but in the when she won the veto was doing a little too much according to some people. Not me.
Not me either.
Because it's like, have you seen like there's been much more dramatic shit that's happened, and also Betty has been targeted by this man for weeks and weeks. Like, let her celebrate.
So Marty can slam his fist on a table talking to Kevin and raise his voice to pretty much every person of color in the house.
Mm-hmm. But
Black people can't dance their way to the block, celebrate a veto win, be bitter that they got blindsided. We'll talk about it.
And white people can also like throw the house key and get like praise and like, yes, bitch, work. Like, you know,
this toxic ass fandom.
It's a little, I don't know, something's off about it.
Anyway, Betty uses a veto on herself. Yes, queen, at the start of this episode. And Gino goes up in her place, meaning the final noms are Josh and Gino. Now let's dive into what happens before the first eviction of the evening. So Josh had one of my favorite confessionals. Truly, he's like, this is illogical. This does not make sense. Why did Marty put up Gino? And he says, I feel almost 100% safe. And that was a safe assumption for him. Mm-hmm. Gino, on the other hand, is not confident, and he shouldn't be.
And you put yourself in this position in the first place. So, like, when he's going around being pissy that Marty put him on the block, I'm like, you were the one that put yourself in this position in the first place, sir. Like, you were not
literally.
You were not like. You can't be bitter with the HOH when you basically put yourself in that position.
He would have put himself on the block before Marty put Gino on the block voluntarily.
Yeah,
like we
so
then
like
see
him being like, he crossed me another time. No, you're idiotic.
No, you crossed you. When you do clownery,
the clownery comes back to bite.
When you do the gummy bear I tried. I really tried.
It's okay.
I really tried today. But we then see a snippet of this conversation between Kevin and Marty, which lasted 2 hours. I would like to add. This was a 2-hour conversation where in all 2 hours of this conversation, Kevin still lying directly to Marty's face, being like, oh yeah, I'm not voting out Gino. What are you talking about? Of course I'm not flipping. Which right after this conversation, Marty went to JC Lynn and was like, no, Kevin's 100%. Like, I just had a conversation with him for 2 hours. He's good. To which JC Lynn then went to Gino. And that's why Gino felt okay going into this eviction. Which I think is like the funniest thing too.
But did they did they get like confirmation from Helena? Because either way, even if Kevin stayed with quote unquote the plan, if Helena voted Gino, Gino's still gone.
Well, the difficulty there is, in their eyes, Helena is just a puppet and only doing what Kevin tells her to do. When in reality, I think they have a very balanced relationship as far as like people can say what they will about Kevin and Helena, and a lot of it is very valid in both the positive and negative light. But I can't deny that they are one of the most dynamic duos in Big Brother Canada history, regardless of how this season ends up.
And it's a surprising one that didn't really happen from week one. It like took a little bit for it to form. Like,
and I was honestly really happy to see it because like
it's a fun and new kind of like dynamic that we don't really get to see all the time.
Because, like, obviously I was rooting for everyone Black and everyone POC and everybody queer. Sure, yes, absolutely. And Helena falls under that. So great, cool, wonderful. Kevin, from the jump this season, was someone that I was like, if you can execute what you are saying in the preseason, I will root for you. And as much as, like, he's just playing the villain game, but he's playing, like, such the likable villain game. And I have to say...
He's playing it up too. Like, he's more. I feel like he's like a chaotic. He's like an agent of chaos and he knows it. Like,
speaking of agent of chaos, let's
jump. To know. It's like I like when the villains know, or like quote unquote villains, because I feel like even Kevin isn't even really as villainous as some of the people that we've seen before. But
Marty.
But like there's. But like with him, like he knows that he's shady, but he also is like at the end of the day,
it.
I'm trying to win. I'm just trying to win for me. Which...
The biggest thing for Kevin for me is he owns all of this. Whereas people like Marty, like Nicole Franzel, like Jackson Mickey, like they don't own that shit. And I appreciate when someone can go in and be like, yeah, I'm playing a sneaky and devious game. I'm going to own every inch of that. That's the game I have to play. I'm here to win money. Like, that's the other thing I feel like a lot of people...
To win Big Brother, you also do have to have part of that sneaky and conniving side. You know, you have to have that extra kind of bite.
It's like, Or
like you're going to get steamrolled because you're not, because you're not making moves.
Even one of the most likable winners at the time, Jordan, BB11, like she had a little bit of that to her. Like it's, I think of Xavier, BB23, like same thing. Like it's just it's difficult. But let's go back. Speaking of Agent of Chaos, let's go back to Marsha the Moose. Thank you, Trevor Boris. Thank you, Trevor Boris. That's all I really have to say. Thank you, Trevor Boris, for bringing Marsha back. I can tell that this was expedited and this was rushed based on the staging of that room. But with that being said, thank you very much. And also, thank you, BB Can producers, for showing us this whole task on the feeds. I really appreciated going back and watching it the day it happened.
Yep.
So Kevin gets the Marsha mission to fake a self-eviction, which I think is so bold of a task.
Because let's say Marty got it, that reaction would have not been the same. It would have been, okay, have fun, like, you know.
No!
It would have been like, there would have been like, there probably was still people being like, are you sure? Like, this is like
are you okay? Like, what's happening?
But it wouldn't have been, no one would have been sobbing. I don't think.
The way that Josh was sobbing.
Like, no, it would have been like, it kind of would have been more of a sigh of relief, I think, on some of them than
all of them. Not a single person left in that house liked him. Like, God. But you know who else I think would have done really, really well with this? Moose. I think Moose would have done great.
Yes.
And I'm mad we didn't get it. But I'm really happy we got it with Kevin. What they didn't show was
left where Kevin was the right choice.
I agree. I think the only other person maybe that could have done it successfully was Betty. I think Betty could have played it up and it would have been like, it would have been really emotional. But I think because Kevin's a super fan, they tend to give it to the super fans. Which I always appreciate. So
because they're not only, they're thinking about how are the audience going to react to me doing this task?
Yeah.
Which I think is an important part when you're doing a task like that.
It's an important part when you go on Big Brother, period. Like, if I ever am so lucky to get on Big Brother, like, I'm always going to be thinking, like, how am I, like, my biggest...
You have to think about, like, how you're being perceived by the audience, or you're going to end up like Todd or Call. Like...
Yep. Yeah, so it's so funny. Sidebar. So the YouTuber that I moderate for, shout out to Linz, love you, Linz. She just got back into watching Big Brother and talked about it in one of her recent videos. And she was like, yeah, I just finished the most recent celebrity season. There were some people who I was really excited about going into this season, and then by the end of the season, I wasn't. And I'm like, girl, we all know who you're talking about, but work diva. Like,
yeah,
I
it's
also
hard to talk.
I also love that she loves her and her boyfriend both love one of my personal favorite seasons that I think is really underrated in BB 17. I love 17, and I don't see a lot of love necessarily within the BB fandom. So, like, seeing people outside of the fandom are like, oh yeah, I love season 17. I'm like, yes, because it birthed the best gif of all time.
Is it the? It's
the Davon leaving. Yeah,
I knew it was a Davon one. I was like, is it that one? But then I was like, oh no, the pretends to be surprises on her second season.
Yes, pretends to be surprises on 18. And then Point Blank and the Period is also on 17, because that's when she's talking to Miss Thing, who we do not name on this podcast because we don't give her airtime.
I don't even know who you're talking about, to be honest.
The creator of that one thing that I was in for a while. Her, yeah.
And then her
her,
other one,
not them. I would like to point out that her pronouns are she, her. Thank you very much.
Okay.
That is a very niche reference for very few people. I'll explain after. But
and the other thing that Davon has that I think is like when she's in the jury house and she's like
on 18. Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
I honestly, I didn't watch enough of 22 to know her iconic moments from 22. I'm gonna be real honest.
Same. I think I was like, I hate the season.
She has a couple diary rooms that I can like remember being iconic. I just can't remember what she said. So whatever. Anyway, Davon tangent of the day. As always.
I think we deserve one every day.
Oh, absolutely. But yes, Kevin killed this task. Truly, point blank and the period. Killed this task.
Yeah. It worked really well with him. I think it was the perfect person out of the people that were left to give that task to him.
Agreed. I would have loved seeing like Tanisha doing this task as well. We lost Tanisha too soon. Anyway, so that's that. We come back to this current episode that we're in, and there's two big things that we see on the show prior to the first eviction vote. The first being this storeroom conversation with JC Lynn and Helena, where JC Lynn is worried about Marty telling people who they can and can't talk to. And that was like a big thing running like Tuesday into Wednesday. Marty was like,
part of this conversation because I was watching the live stream and it was glitching out around that part.
Shout out to Miss Heather Lee. I love that woman with every fiber of my being. I donate to her.
So I was watching that and I think I was trying to get it to sync back up and I think I had missed part of Helena and JC and TJ Maxx's conversation.
Yes. But yes, shout out to Heather. We love you, Heather. True queen, icon, legend of my life. I don't know if you saw the comment in her chat this evening, but there was I made a comment that was like, some of y'all haven't been here for years and it shows, like in between the blockings. And I'm like, I mean, it's true. But so this conversation, JC Lynn and Helena are in there, and at this point, this goes back a little bit to the Kevin and Marty 2-hour conversation that had happened earlier. I believe it was Tuesday morning. I think it was.
I think so. Yeah.
Tuesday or Wednesday morning. I don't really remember. Where Kevin is like, so let's not all associate with each other just to make sure that like the other side, aka the black people, don't know that we're all like in an alliance together. And so JC Lynn then takes this concern to Helena in the storeroom where she's worried about this. She's like, I don't really like Marty telling us like who we can and can't talk to. And then JC Lynn dives in a little bit more with Helena because at this point, I believe Helena was JC Lynn's number one. It wasn't Gino.
Now.
Her plan was always to cut Gino, from what she said. I don't know if that to be true because we haven't seen a confessional about it. So I don't necessarily know that to be true, but what we know
it would have been a great
is
move. It would have been a really good move if like, let's say Helena, Gino, and JC Lynn were final three, and JC Lynn wins the final HOH, and she cut Gino. That would have been like
JC Lynn pulls a Kayla, or pulls a Paris. That would have been wonderful. But so JC Lynn's really worried about this potential flip because she doesn't know where Kevin's head is at, and she knows, for the most part, that Betty and Summer are going to vote to evict Gino.
Right.
Summer, from what they understand, Summer is a wild card still. She was never voting out Josh, and maybe she should have. We'll talk about it.
Sure.
But so JC Lynn's worried, and she's like, I would just hope that, like, if you were to flip, talking to Helena,
tell me.
If you were to flip, you would tell me. And then, like, Helena's like, yeah. And, like, JC Lynn does not give Helena any air to breathe in this conversation. Because
like,
immediately
she's like, not saying no.
Yeah, and she's like, and then Helena's like, no, I'm not flipping. And, like, being kind of persistent. Obviously, she's lying. But JC Lynn gets very, very concerned. And then Helena straight up tells JC Lynn that if Kevin flips, she's also going to have to flip. And I don't know how I feel about that admission of it. I mean, obviously, Helena is doing her best in this moment to push all of the blame.
I mean, it makes sense for her to say this because then it pushes the blame onto Kevin. If, like, let's say JC Lynn were to win this, the next HOH, you know, so she's like, I feel more betrayed by Kevin, and Helena, you did this because you didn't want to be in the minority. Gina was going home no matter what. Like, if Kevin flipped, like, you know. So from a game point, I understand Helena doing this.
Honestly, I say what you will about Helena. I think Helena's playing a phenomenal game. I really do.
I think this is a really great Final Five.
We'll dive into it at the end because I definitely want to dive in. But then the last thing we see before the first vote is it's a conversation with Gino, JC Lynn, Kevin, and Helena, where Gino essentially threatens Kevin and Helena by saying, if you flip on me, JC Lynn will be coming after you. And so will Marty. And I'm like, I mean, that's true, but, like, I don't like that this was framed as a threat.
Right. And also, like, let them see for themselves.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. I didn't love this. But whatever, we move. So we go to the vote. But before we go to, but first. Okay, Miss Chen Mendez. But first, Herman and Moose at the jury house, and I love them.
It was a cute reunion, you know.
It was really cute. Mostly because they're both very cute.
Sucks to see Moose and her and both of them. Sucks to see them back to back in the jury. But hey, they have 3 more friends.
Lord help us all.
I know that they're fighting with Gino. I know some were just sitting back and watching them all fight against Gino Marty.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Some were just like drinking. Some were just like, let me just like, I need to go away. Y'all 4 men can fight. Like
wild.
Because it was Gino had gotten there, like, let's say, like 10 minutes before the other ones. Like we probably like a half an hour before the other ones got there. So I know Moose.
Probably, yeah.
I know Moose was like pissed at Gino.
Truly. So yes, Gino is completely blindsided by
in a
vote
3-1 vote with only JC Lynn keeps him in a 3-1 vote, not 3-4. Just not 7 people voting.
4-1, my love. 4-1.
4-1.
There were 4 votes. I had to grab it. I had to.
Yes.
Thank you, Twitter. I don't know who I grabbed it from on Twitter, but thank you. So
That's
that joins our compilation. We now have
Casey Lynn.
Yep, there's the first one. And we have Steph. The only thing she provided to this season.
I forgot Steph was even on this cast.
She's doing the most. I don't dislike her. I'll be honest.
I don't dislike her either because I have no opinion about her. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah, no, I kind of feel that. But yeah, so Gino walks out. Well, so in their eviction speeches, Josh is like, let me tell you about this delicious chocolate chip cookie. And I'm like, yes, Zaddy. And then I changed my mind 30 minutes later, but we'll talk about it. And Gino kicked up his feet this week and ended up on the block. And then the moment of the episode. Yes. And then the moment of the episode for me, Summer takes the gummy bear in to vote and she eats it.
So the first eviction of the night was the gummy bear. The gummy bear the gummy bear was medically evacuated from the game.
Yep.
Then followed by Gino.
Yep.
Which, honestly, bye Gino.
I mean, I think he's a nice person.
I think he's a nice person. I think he made some not great moves, and I think it was time.
He wasn't in the greatest alliances. He didn't. If he had just aligned himself with the Summer, Herman, Moose, Betty, Josh, and Tanisha,
and then JC Lynn would have been pulled in with him. Like,
yeah, like I feel like all of them would be in a much better position.
Mm-hmm. Or like JC Lynn still works with the other side, and like Gino and JC Lynn are in the middle. Like,
right. So, well, we go to the HOH comp, and it's called Challenge Time Machine. And so we're going back in time, and it's questions based on the comps that you've already done. And we go into the last question, Esme.
It's 6-6
between Josh and JC Lynn.
I think there was someone at 5, so let's say both. So it could have been it still could have been a 3-way tie if both of them got it wrong, and one of the people with 5 got it right.
I believe it was Kevin.
I believe it was Kevin. Yeah, it was either Kevin.
Summer did not do well. Betty had 2 or 3, and I think Helena had 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think Kevin got like 3rd in that comp.
Kevin.
So I think if both JC Lynn and Josh got that one wrong, it could have been a 3-way tie between JC Lynn, Josh, and Kevin. I could be mistaken. Don't quote me on that.
This evening was a lot. Oh no, we lost Esme. Oh no, whatever will we do? Not this. Not this. Not here. Not today. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, where did Esme go? Well, I guess I guess I could go on. Yeah, so I'll go on for a second. So it is tied 6-6. Josh and JC Lynn are tied, and they answer the last question, and JC Lynn gets it wrong, and Josh gets it right, and Josh is the new the triple eviction HOH.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we're good.
Okay. I don't know what's not letting me turn my camera if you can hear me because they're connected. This is sick.
Well,
and it's like saying I can turn it on, but it's not. I hate it here.
Well, at least I can hear you. That's all that matters.
So now you get it's half
half Julia, half Robin. Work. Mm-hmm. I love to see it. But yes, Josh is the HOH. And at the time, I was happy.
At the time, I was happy. At the time, the timeline was happy.
Yes. Because we knew, like, if Josh won, we knew that, like, he was going to have to pick a side. We did not know which side he was going to be picking.
Kind of didn't pick a side, though, like, in the end.
I mean,
Because he got one person from each side out.
No, I meant between his like main two alliances.
Okay.
He was aligned with Betty and Summer, and he was aligned with Kevin and Helena. So it was more so like those two sides within like him. So that's why I thought it was interesting that he would even like try to win this HOH.
Yeah, it was an interesting one.
But also it's the triple, so safety.
So safety, because otherwise I feel like he could have gone up.
Yeah. So
because who do we think JC Lynn would have nominated?
Marty, Kevin, and Helena, honestly.
So honestly, JC Lynn might have been the better outcome.
I said it on Twitter. I think JC Lynn would have been the better option to win HOH.
Yeah, because I think at the end of the day, it would have been some form, and I don't think Marty would have been able to win the veto because we saw Marty wasn't doing well.
Yeah.
So it would have been like probably maybe Kevin winning veto.
It would also depend on which two are playing in the veto between Betty, Summer, and Josh, because Summer was doing very well.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin and Helena were not. So that would have changed the entire trajectory.
Yeah.
But Josh decides that he's going to nominate Marty, JC Lynn.
Yay. Marty and JC Lynn are fine. I'm okay with.
And Summer.
Yep.
And I was like, oh God, Josh has made his choice. Oh no. Lord
and
Jesus.
And to me, it was the wrong choice here because Helena and Kevin are so intertwined and have been working together pretty much for a while now. Like, yeah, Summer and Betty have as well, but for me, also like at this point, you have to consider gameplay too. Summer is so much easier to beat than
I would say Summer and Betty.
Because at this point, Betty won their first competition this week.
Yeah.
Like, Betty won their first competition. And
Summer has not won a comp.
Summer has not won a comp. And Summer, besides being sociable, I don't think it hasn't been done much. Like, I love Summer, but she's much more of a social player. And I think he made the wrong choice of putting Summer up here. And
I don't necessarily think it was the wrong idea putting Summer up here. I think the initial nominee of Summer, I think, was valid.
Was fine. But then what ends up happening is they go into veto.
Yeah.
And I'm looking, oh, Marty's losing. Good. Want him out. Because I was worried that Marty was going to win.
And so the extra players are Kevin and Helena, which I'm like, of course Betty's not playing in this, of course. And so they are not.
Because what would have been interesting is if Betty had ended up winning and saved.
She would have taken Summer.
And then Josh has to either put Helena or Kevin up on the block.
And probably puts up Helena.
And Helena probably still stays.
I don't no. I think Betty and Summer vote to keep JC Lynn in that situation. And then the three of them. It would have been interesting too, because JC Lynn wins the veto. This is technically, if you count the chain of safety. If you count the chain of safety, this is technically her fourth veto win.
She's doing good in comps.
I'm thoroughly impressed. Like, honest to God.
Yeah.
Like, personal opinions of JC Lynn aside, I think she's a phenomenal game player.
She is. She's very. It's been interesting to see.
We'll talk more. We'll get there at the end. So
yeah.
JC Lynn wins the veto, and I love that in this veto they were not featuring Kevin or Helena in the edit at all.
No,
the edit was Marty's doing.
That's why I didn't really know at all how they were doing. I was like, maybe Kevin was doing fine.
I thought it was going to be one of those situations where, like, out of nowhere, someone like buzzes in that like was not featured in the edit, because that sometimes happens, especially on BBUS when it's actually live. They do that a lot, where like someone out of nowhere. Like I think of when it's
live, it's harder because you're like maneuvering and like you want to focus on people that are actually doing it. But like, let's say JC Lynn really couldn't get that last one in, and Kevin then out of nowhere gets it.
Yeah.
Like, it's
like,
harder to edit. It's harder to edit that live. Like,
well, because I always think of Clown Shoe from BB12, where Jeff is dealing with the clown shoe, and then out of nowhere, Porsha wins the veto. Like, I always think of that one as like they did not feature Porsha at all until she won. And I'm like,
because they weren't expecting her to win, like,
exactly,
and how she did.
They were more focused on the fact that Jeff threw his clown shoe out of the bin. So JC Lynn wins. Obviously, she takes herself off the block. Good for you.
Good for you. You look happy.
Healthy, not me. Because then Betty goes off.
Which
truly
fucking
gagged me. Truly gagged me.
It broke my heart.
I honestly, the best move in that situation was to sacrifice Helena. As much as she's been my winner pick since day one, and I guess still is, just for continuity's sake, is my winner pick. She's also, not who I want to win.
I would have thought about this earlier. I would have, because like I think I would have gone into the thing being like, okay, who's winning comps? I think my initial nominees honestly would have been Marty, JC Lynn, and Helena, because Helena has not touched the block.
And we'll talk about it when we get to the
and it would have been a moment of like, okay, you're on the block because you haven't touched the block. Like,
yeah. Or like that would have been a perfect reason to put her up as the replacement. Even if if Marty and Summer still go, which in that situation, that would have been a very interesting situation because it would have come down to JC Lynn. Marty was going regardless. There was no chance Marty was going to be saved.
Really? And the only way he would have stayed this week, this triple, would have
winning
been
the veto.
Winning the veto.
And that was my biggest fear. So he didn't. And I'm happy about it. But that's an interesting scenario. So let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Marty and Summer are evicted unanimously. And as much as I am very, very happy that the old man is finally out of the house, at what cost? Because we lose Summer.
We lose Summer, and it sucks because, like, I think it was also completely the wrong move on Josh's part because Summer is so much, like, it's a play that would end up being easier to beat in comps. And at the end, like, it's Josh and Summer. At the end, Josh would have beaten Summer.
Yeah,
probably
100%. 100%. I want to talk about that scenario we were talking about just then. If it's Marty, Summer, and Helena on the block for the eviction vote, Kevin obviously votes to keep Helena. Betty obviously votes to keep Summer. Where does JC Lynn vote? I think JC Lynn keeps Summer.
I think so too. Marty's gone no matter what.
Yeah.
No, JC Lynn saves Marty, and then it comes down to Josh having to keep one of them.
I think it was Jespri from RHAP tweeted, like, this may be the first time we ever get a 1-1-1. Oh no, we lost Esme again. No, tragedy. So I think he tweeted, like, this would be the first time that we get a 1-1-1 and that in a triple, which honestly, that would have been really interesting because I don't know who Josh saves. I think Josh does also save Betty. I think Josh saves Betty in that scenario, but that would have been really, really cool and interesting and different. So we lose Summer and the old man, which I'm very happy about. He can no longer terrorize the Black people and the queer people of the Big Brother Canada 10 house, and I'm very happy to see it. So bye, Marty. Miss you never. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Disgusting is what it is that Summer was evicted. And if you've not seen, I believe Big Brother Canada went live on TikTok, I think it was, with the after eviction speeches. Summer had a really, really emotional speech where she was talking about the importance of, like, being on the show and meeting Arissa, and, like, being so excited to see Arissa every week. and all that kind of stuff, which is just a very, very touching sentiment. So please make sure to check that out if you haven't. I'm very sad to see Summer go. I would have liked to see Summer win a competition, but yeah. And then we're going to dive very quickly into the HOH spoilers. So we do know who the new HOH is. If you do not want to know who the new HOH is, please at this time make sure to leave the stream. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you at a future time. Esme is back.
No.
You're good. I can hear you. I can see you. We love this.
Yeah, my webcam, I think, is just decided to break today.
Good. Love it.
Perfect timing. It's been on the fritz for a while. I need a new one.
Sure. Well, we're about to get into tea time, so I told everybody to leave if they don't want to know the spoilers on the new HOH, because we're going to talk about it in 3, 2, 1. Queen Betty has made the final 4 of Big Brother Canada 10.
I'm ecstatic.
Could not be more thrilled. Also, I want to point out, and I didn't realize this until I saw it on Twitter, she is the first woman to win HOH this season.
What the fuck?
Because Jess obviously identifies as non-binary, so though a femininely identifying non-binary person, still Betty is the first woman to win HOH this season, which I'm very happy.
But I hate that it was Final 5.
I do too, but I do too. I really do, because she kind of had to win, so I'm cool with it. Apparently, also, the comp was allegedly, I'm hearing this from my girl, BB Updudes, Miss Cassie. We love you, Miss Cassie. Apparently, the comp was hosted by icon, legend, and star.
Was it hosted by Ica?
Ica Wong. Allegedly. From what Cassie's told us on Twitter, from what she's heard on the feeds, apparently Ica roasted all of them, and then the competition had something to do with shredded letters, which is a comp. They've done a version of that where it's pieces of postcards before. I know BB Can has done that, so I'm curious if it's that comp, and if that's the case, I can see where Betty won. So
yeah,
I'm so happy. I'm not all that thrilled about who she's planning to nominate, though. I'll be really honest. As of this moment, and I haven't checked the feeds since we went live, but the last time that I looked, her nominees were going to be Josh and JC Lynn.
Okay. I understand Josh from the game point of
yes. But
I feel like she needs to put either Helena or not Marta or Kevin on the block, because they're so close.
Well, the difficulty is I don't know if Betty knows how close Kevin and Helena are.
Because she wasn't in Marty's White Nights.
No. So I don't think she's aware of how close they are.
Right.
And I think if the veto is used, which at this point I'm kind of hoping it is, I think Helena goes up. And then I think in either scenario, Helena goes home.
I don't know, because it comes down, it would be a 2-2. It would be a 1-1.
Yeah, well, okay. So if it's Josh and Helena, no, you're right. Josh goes home. They're all voting Josh out.
Because it's a 1-1, or it's a 1-2. It's a 1, or it's a 2-0. If it's a 1-1,
I think if it's Josh and Helena, it's a 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it's JC Lynn and Helena, I think it's a 1-1 with Betty getting revenge for Summer.
Mm-hmm.
So
if Betty, because it's not like instant eviction, so Betty gets time to think about this, and hopefully, I might find if Josh goes up here, honestly, more than Jason Lynn. I'm like, not, I don't know. I just want Betty to win. I think that's my pick. Like my thing is like right now, I just want Betty to do like what's best for her game.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's not keeping Helena and Kevin off the block.
Yeah.
But she doesn't know that.
Exactly. So
you can't fault for someone for doing something they don't know about, like for acting on something they don't know about, you know?
So let's talk about it. Final 5: Betty, JC Lynn, Josh, Helena, and Kevin. Not the final 5 I expected.
From the get-go, this is like from the season premiere, this is a very interesting final 5.
Mm-hmm. I definitely didn't think JC Lynn would make it this far.
I didn't think Betty was going to make it this far, to be honest. I'm really glad she did.
Yeah.
I think honestly, I didn't even expect Helena to make this far either. Like,
yeah, I mean, Helena's been my winner pick she was my preseason winner pick. So, and I always tend to stick with them kind of almost regardless. And it's not like Helena's done anything horrible on like a human level.
Mm-hmm.
She's playing a very rat game, but none of these, well, JC Lynn had some comments in the past, so I can't say that. But
I don't know what comments are talking.
Kind of racist, kind of homophobic.
Okay.
But like,
I mean, not okay, but like
not okay, but like happened in her youth. So I'm like, I'm in my era of like trying to forgive people for shitty things that they do. Marty will not be getting any of that from me.
Because Marty's a full-grown adult and
exactly. But anyway,
and perfectly ostracized like the women, the people of color in the game.
It doesn't seem like JC Lynn is that way now. Let's just say that. I don't know her as a human. All I know is her social media and who she's presenting herself to be in this reality competition scripted show.
I'm down to see growth. That's like, I think that's something I'm like, if you show growth, good.
Yeah.
That doesn't also immediately absolve you of everything you've done. People are still allowed to critique what you've done in the past because it made you who you are today.
Yep. But I mean, we kind of have 5, not necessarily 5 completely different games. I was going to say 4 completely different games, honestly, because you have Betty the Block Star playing that Block Star game, finally getting some power. I think she was billed on this season to be the spicy V. And instead, I think the trajectory of her game has kind of become more like Brittany Blair, who I love and adore with every fiber of my being.
And she got 4th, right?
She did get 4th. So that's where I'm a little nervous. But then we see JC Lynn, who has played the very stereotypical BB Can showmance kind of game. But now her showmance is gone. She's won vetoes when she absolutely has to. She's won safety when she absolutely has to. And I think overall, hitching herself to the Gino train has gotten her this far. I'm really interested to see who and where she ends up trying to align with in this final 5, because I don't necessarily think it's very cut and dry. You have Josh, who was the most insulated player going into the triple and probably shouldn't have won the triple HOH.
Because I don't think he would have gone home.
I don't think he was 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th to go on the block. Because I think the other alternative at that point would have been JC Lynn or Kevin. And the difficulty is, going into this triple, I was like, I don't see anyone targeting Betty, Summer, or Josh. Because in my mind, Betty, Summer, and Josh were going to target the Marty, JC Lynn, Helena, Kevin.
I think that's what we all thought. And then he made a move.
Because then, if JC Lynn wins, I think she puts up Marty, Kevin, and Helena. I think, not that. Anyway, I think if Kevin or Helena wins, they put up Marty and JC Lynn plus one of the other people, and provided Marty or JC Lynn doesn't win Veto, they vote the white people out. So honestly, I didn't really see a scenario where they would be targeted.
And then one won and targeted the other ones, which was a move.
It's fine. We then get Helena, who is playing this kind of very low-key true floater. I'm going to say true floater game. She is not coasting through this game. She is floating, and I respect the hell out of a kind of sneaky, kind of conniving.
And actually a true floater game. Like, it's interesting because we haven't really seen this in a while.
The last time we saw a true floater game on BB Can, honestly, was Paris. So I don't know what that says. We'll see.
We'll see.
And then there's Kevin, who is playing the outward, at least outwardly to us, devious game, but playing in the house this sort of like very respectable, but kind of very, very strategic game.
Yeah.
So I guess it is kind of 5 different games, because I was going to say Helena and Kevin are kind of playing the same game, but in very different ways. Yes.
But different in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see where this season goes, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention, like there was a few things I wanted to mention, was like, was Marty's comment about Gino having the best HOHs this season? No. Did you, like, I mean, obviously, I don't think he knew that. I don't know if he knew that Gino's plan was to get him evicted. But
I don't think he knows. I think they did a really good job at lying to him.
But that, like, and his first HOH, everyone wanted Kyle up. So whoever won that HOH, Kyle was leaving.
I mean, Gino had the best first HOH.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that because he did successfully get Kyle out.
Mm-hmm.
But
I feel like really anyone who won that would have been able to, like, most people who won it would have taken that shot at Kyle.
I think Gino was the one that we were most surprised at taking the shot at Kyle.
Yeah.
I mean, and it has insulated him well. I mean, he got 8th, but it insulated him for a good number of weeks and got him to where he got, and it's going to get JC Lynn at least to 5th. So,
yeah,
I'm interested to see how this week goes.
Yeah, I'm glad that Betty is in Final 4.
Yes, she just needs to win the Final 4 veto.
She needs to win that veto because it comes down to the veto.
Well, and she's been studying days. She's been really good about that. JC Lynn's been really good about that. I think all of the people left have been really good about that. The ones that struggled, honestly, were Gino, Marty, and Summer. And so
it's interesting. Like that's why, like, again, I'm like, Summer wasn't the right choice because Summer's someone that you would easily beat in a final HOH.
Summer was going to be 4th place in the final veto unless hell froze over. And I love her to death, but that's just kind of the facts of the situation.
Unless it was a particularly HOH that was geared towards Summer.
Unless it was a twerking competition.
Unless it was give compliments to Arissa.
Give compliments to Arissa competition? Yeah, no, totally. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we're at with our final 5. It's happening. We did it. Esme, thank you for finally making your debut on the channel.
I'm excited. I would love to come back in some fashion for this or for that all winter season of Drag Race that's coming up.
We'll get you on Drag Race. We'll get you on for BB Can for the little bit we got left. Provided you're not on BB 24, we'll get you on there too.
I would love to be on BB 24, but they have not contacted me, and I have in if they don't contact me by May, it's not happening.
Well, yeah, but with that being.
So send out some good vibes.
Yeah. I mean, I decided not to apply for this season, but it is.
I mean, this is the first season I could apply for, so I'm like, let me do it. You know.
Sure. I did the same thing. So, but that was for 22. 22 was the first chance I could apply.
Yeah.
But it's all good.
I think I've talked about like my fears of like, not fears, but like my like, I don't know if I would ever get cast. They would ever cast someone like me.
Yeah. Valid.
Like even with the, you know, like even now that like if I was just cis, if I was cis, I feel like I would have a much better shot. Because now they are doing this. Because I feel like if I was cis, I could fall into that gay kind of like the kind of
Ramses.
gay one, like the Ramses, even like I know that Cameron isn't straight. I mean, like I feel like like that kind of like that type of archetype of like
you fit that demographic, yeah.
Like yeah, I feel like I would fit that one. They would probably want me to play more of a nerdy care archetype more than I am.
Probably.
So I think like there's more of a chance now that they're casting like half POC, but still it's harder because it's like I joked about it I joked about it before this season that came out. I was like, if they ever cast me, they could just cast me and they could put me in a house with 15 other white people, because then I fill the diversity quota. Like
I mean, yeah. But
and I would love, because I feel like I could do well in a show like this. It just I don't know if I would ever get on, because I don't know, you know?
I feel the same way, so I understand for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But as also not cis, like that would be that would be something. I mean, I think we'd both have a better shot at getting on BB Cam.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Though, would Arissa have to unfollow me and then follow me again? Like, that's the fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, hi, I've had direct conversations with Arissa Cox over Twitter, so. But with that being said, we're going to leave y'all for this evening. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share on the way out. Follow Esme because they're fabulous and beautiful. Follow me because I'm cool sometimes.
Yeah, you're fabulous, cool, and beautiful. Mwah.
Mwah. And with that, cheers. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Farewell. Goodbye.
Adios.
So long. Stand Betty for clear skin. Goodbye.
Yeah,